Story title: Everyone failed to save the dying CEO until a homeless girl's blood brought him back and stole his heart. Rain hammered against the city like a war drum, the kind that drowned out hope and mercy alike. Sirens screamed through the night, slicing through the chaos as a convoy of black cars raced towards St. Vincent's Hospital. Inside one of them, the heart monitor had already gone flat. "He's crashing again," shouted the paramedic, slamming on the chest of the unconscious man in the back seat. "We're losing him." Marcus Hale, the youngest billionaire CEO in the country, the man who built empires with his bare hands, lay motionless. His skin was pale, lips cold, veins collapsing beneath the surface. 5 minutes ago, he'd been standing on a stage at Hale Tower, announcing a merger worth billions. Now his body was betraying him. A rare, undiagnosed heart condition had finally claimed him. "Keep pressure, damn it, he's not responding." The convoy screeched to a halt outside the ER. Nurses rushed forward, floodlights painting the night white. But inside, chaos met futility. They'd done everything humanly possible. And yet, the city's most powerful man was dying. Inside the emergency room, the air was suffocating. Machines beeped in frantic rhythm, then fell silent one by one. "Time of death," the surgeon began, but the words caught in his throat as thunder cracked overhead. From behind the glass, reporters pressed their lenses against the window. Executives whispered. Assistants cried. The man everyone feared and obeyed was gone. Outside the hospital, in the same rain that washed the streets, a young woman sat huddled beneath a broken bus stop sign. Her name was Lena Carter, 24, barefoot, and invisible to the world. Her clothes were torn, her hair damp and tangled, and her hands clutched a small paper bag, her dinner, half-eaten bread she'd been saving. She didn't know the name Marcus Hale. Didn't know that a dying empire was collapsing just a few meters from her. All she knew was hunger and cold, until a nurse's frantic cry pierced the storm. "We need O negative. The blood bank's empty." Lena froze. Her eyes widened. O negative. That was her type. Inside the ER, the surgeon cursed. "We can't find a match. He's losing oxygen to the brain." One of the nurses rushed to the window, desperate. "Anyone. We just need a donor." The crowd outside murmured, no one stepping forward. No one wanted to risk it, not in the middle of a storm, not for a man already declared dead. But Lena, fragile, trembling, starving, stood. "I'm O negative," she whispered, stepping forward. Her voice was almost lost in the thunder. "Take mine." The nurse blinked, stunned. "Miss, this man's already." "I said take it." Lena's voice cracked, fierce and trembling. "I can't watch someone die when I can help." Minutes later, the room transformed. Tubes, clamps, wires, and in the middle of it, Lena lay on the donor bed, her arm hooked to the transfusion line. Across from her, Marcus's lifeless body rested under harsh lights. The surgeon hesitated. "We're wasting time." The heart stopped. "Then start again," she whispered. Her blood began to flow, drop by drop, thread by thread, into the veins of a man she'd never met. The monitor stayed silent. Then, beep. A flicker. The surgeon looked up sharply. "Wait, hold on." Beep, beep, beep. The rhythm returned. The heart that had been still for 8 minutes began to beat again, weak but alive. Everyone froze. The nurse gasped. The doctor whispered, almost in disbelief, It's impossible." But Lena only stared at the man whose life she'd just pulled from the edge. She didn't know his name, didn't know his story. All she knew was that for one moment, as the machine beeped in rhythm with her pulse, their hearts had somehow connected. Hours later, Lena awoke in the hospital hallway, dizzy and pale. The nurse handed her a paper cup of water. "You saved him," she said softly. "He's still unconscious but stable." Lena smiled weakly. "That's good. You know who that man is, right?" She shook her head. "That's Marcus Hale, the CEO of Hale Corporation." Lena blinked. The name meant nothing to her. "Doesn't matter. He's alive." The nurse stared at her, this homeless girl who had given away blood like it was nothing. You don't want anything? Not even a reward? Lena laughed faintly. I already got one. I saw someone breathe again. In the ICU, Marcus stirred. His breathing deepened. His fingers twitched. Then, for the first time since his collapse, his eyes opened. Blurred white light. The faint echo of a heartbeat. Not his, but hers. He saw a shadow through the glass, a girl with messy hair, sitting quietly outside, holding her forebandage. Something about her presence tugged at him. Something soft in a life that had always been sharp. He whispered hoarsely, "Who is she?" The nurse smiled. "Your donor. The reason you're still breathing." Marcus closed his eyes again, but the image of her, fragile, drenched in rain, eyes full of warmth, burned into him. He'd seen countless faces begging for his favor, faking smiles for his wealth. But this stranger? She'd given him life for nothing. And that terrified him. Outside the hospital, Lena limped into the night again, unseen and unthanked. Her arm ached, her vision spun, but her heart felt strangely full. She whispered into the wind, "You'll live, whoever you are." And somewhere behind her, on the 21st floor of the ICU, the man she saved stared at the moonlight through his window, wondering why, after all his years of dominance and cold success, his first thought upon waking wasn't about his company, but about her. Marcus Hale, the untouchable CEO, had been brought back by a nameless girl, and his heart, for the first time, didn't feel like his own. The hospital corridor was eerily silent, too silent for a place that had just witnessed the fall of a billionaire. Outside the ICU doors, executives in tailored suits whispered anxiously, their expensive watches glinting under the sterile light. Reporters swarmed outside, waiting for confirmation. Was Alexander Knight, the Empire's cold, untouchable CEO, dead? Inside, machines beeped faintly, each sound like a countdown to the inevitable. "His organs are shutting down," the chief surgeon murmured, voice heavy. "His blood is rejecting every donor type. We're out of options." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. At the edge of the hallway stood her, a frail girl with tangled hair, clutching an old coat that wasn't even hers. Her name was Lena Grace, a homeless girl who'd been brought in after a street accident. She shouldn't even have been in the same wing, but fate had a strange way of crossing paths that were never meant to meet. She overheard the doctor's words, and something inside her, something she couldn't explain, tugged hard at her heart. "Wait," she whispered. "Can't you test my blood? I'll give it. Please." The nurse blinked, startled. "You? You're not even registered." "Just test it." Lena's voice broke, desperate. "What if it matches?" Minutes later, silence fell again, but this time, it was a silence of shock. The nurse stared at the screen, then at Lena. "Her blood, it matches. It's a rare negative strain. Identical compatibility." The doctors exchanged disbelieving glances. The chief surgeon exhaled shakily. "Prep her for transfusion. Now." When Lena opened her eyes again, the world was blurry. Her body felt weak, her arm bandaged where the needle had been. The faint hum of machines filled the air, steady now, not erratic. She turned her head slightly and froze. He was there. Alexander Knight, the man every headline called heartless, brilliant, ruthless, lay inches away, color returning to his face, his chest rising and falling with the rhythm of life. She stared at him, barely breathing. She had seen his photo once on a newspaper discarded near the subway. The man who owned half the city. The man whose eyes were said to make boardrooms go silent. Now he looked fragile. Human. "Sir, you need to rest." A nurse's voice broke her trance. "You've saved him, but you need to recover too." Lena swallowed, voice trembling. "I didn't save him. I just gave blood." But deep down, she knew something had changed the moment her blood entered his veins. 2 days later, she was supposed to leave. The hospital staff had thanked her, given her some money, and told her to go. But as she reached the exit, a voice echoed from behind. "Miss Grace." She turned and froze again. It was him. Alive. Standing. Alexander Knight leaned slightly on a cane, his sharp gray eyes softened by exhaustion. He was pale but alive, impossibly alive. "You're the donor?" he asked quietly. She nodded slowly. It was nothing. Nothing. His lips curved, but it wasn't quite a smile. "You gave me back something money couldn't buy. My life." Lena didn't know what to say. Her instinct was to run, to vanish back into the nameless crowd she came from. But his gaze pinned her where she stood, steady, unreadable. "You're leaving?" he asked. "I have nowhere to stay here. I shouldn't even be in this hospital. I'm just homeless." His voice softened, not in pity, but in realization. She looked away, ashamed. "Then stay," he said simply. She looked up sharply. "What?" "Stay in a mansion. Until you recover." His tone was calm but firm, the tone of a man used to being obeyed. "I can't," she whispered. "People like me don't belong in places like that." Alexander's eyes darkened, something unreadable flickering within them. "People like you?" He stepped closer. "You're the only reason I'm still breathing. That means you belong wherever I say you do." Lena's breath caught. For a second, the mask slipped from his face, revealing a flicker of vulnerability, a strange warmth that didn't belong to the cold legend of Alexander Knight. But before she could answer, the door burst open. His assistant rushed in, flustered. "Sir, the board is waiting. They want to know who the girl is." Alexander turned to Lena, his voice low. "You'll stay with me. For now." The words felt both like protection and a threat. Lena watched as he left the room, her pulse racing. She didn't know whether to be grateful or terrified. All she knew was that from the moment their blood mixed, nothing in either of their lives would ever be the same. And somewhere, deep inside her veins, she felt it, a strange pull, a heartbeat that no longer felt like just her own. The car rolled to a stop before a sprawling black iron gate. It opened soundlessly, revealing a mansion that looked less like a home and more like a kingdom carved from stone and shadow. Lena stared out the window, clutching her threadbare coat tighter around herself. She'd never seen anything like it. Glass walls that reflected the cold sky, a fountain that shimmered under moonlight, and silence, so heavy it felt alive. She didn't belong here. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But the man sitting beside her, the man whose life she'd unknowingly saved, didn't seem to notice her unease. Alexander Knight's face was unreadable, sculpted from marble and restraint. Since leaving the hospital, he hadn't spoken a word. Only once had he turned toward her, his eyes flickering to the bandage on her arm before he looked away again. Now, as the car door opened, his deep voice broke the silence. "Welcome to Knight Estate." His words were simple, but they felt like an order. Lena stepped out slowly, her shoes sinking into the gravel driveway. The night air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of roses and rain. She followed him through towering doors into a grand hall that gleamed with chandeliers and marble floors. Every surface shone. Every corner whispered money, power, distance. "Mr. Knight." A butler appeared instantly. "We've prepared the East Wing, as you requested." "Good," Alexander said curtly. His eyes flicked toward Lena. "Make sure she has everything she needs." The butler hesitated, gaze flicking between them. "Of course, sir. May I ask?" Alexander's tone dropped, ice threading his words. "No questions." The man nodded and vanished. Lena's pulse raced. What was she doing here? She turned toward Alexander, voice small. "You didn't have to bring me here." "I could've." He cut her off. "You could have gone back to the streets? After giving away half your blood?" "I didn't do it for a reward," she whispered. "Good," he said, his tone flat but eyes glinting with something sharp. "Because this isn't one." Lena flinched. He exhaled slowly, then ran a hand through his hair, a rare break in his cold composure. "I don't trust hospitals. Or the people inside them. Someone wanted me dead, Miss Grace. The transfusion, it wasn't just luck. It was the only thing that shouldn't have worked, and yet it did." His words sent a chill down her spine. "You think someone tried to kill you?" she asked softly. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, his gaze locked on her, piercing and searching. I don't think. I know. Lena's breath caught. He took a step closer. And until I find out who, you'll stay here. Under my protection. Her lips parted. Protection? Or imprisonment? For the first time, a ghost of a smile curved his mouth. Depends which one you need more. That night, Lena stood in her new room, if you could call it that. The walls were white and cold, the bed enormous, the view overlooking a city she used to beg in. It should have felt like heaven, but instead, it felt like a cage made of gold. She walked to the window and pressed her palm to the glass. Down below, Alexander stood alone in the courtyard, staring into the night. His figure was tall, elegant, yet weighed down by something invisible. Lena's mind spun. Why had her blood saved him when no one else's could? Why did he look at her like she was a secret he couldn't solve? She didn't know she'd whispered his name, Alexander, until the reflection in the glass shifted. He was no longer in the courtyard. He was standing right behind her. Lena turned sharply, heart pounding. You should lock your door, he said quietly. Her voice trembled. You scared me. Good. Fear keeps people alive. She swallowed hard. And you? Do you feel fear? His eyes softened for the briefest moment. Only once, he said. When you were dying on that hospital bed. Lena froze. You saw me? He nodded slowly. I woke up for a few seconds during the transfusion. I remember your face. Pale, barely breathing, and I remember thinking if she dies, then maybe I should too. Her throat tightened. She didn't know what to say to that, to the strange honesty in his voice. I'm not special, she whispered. You don't even know me. He stepped closer, so close she could feel his breath. Then let me. Her pulse thundered. Why? Because since that night, he murmured, his voice low, dangerous. Every time my heart beats, it feels like it's calling your name. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The tension between them was fragile, electric, terrifying. Then, a crash echoed through the mansion. Alexander instantly shifted, his expression turning cold and sharp. Stay here. Lena reached out. What was that? He didn't answer. He was already gone. The sound of hurried footsteps filled the hall, followed by muffled voices. Lena pressed her ear to the door. Sir, we found this near the main gate, a guard said, his voice shaking. A note, addressed to you. A pause. Then Alexander's voice, colder than ice. Burn it. No one touches her. Understand. Her stomach twisted. No one touches her. What did that mean? Who would want to? And as she sank onto the edge of her bed, a realization crept through her, one she couldn't shake. Whatever danger had almost killed Alexander Knight, it wasn't over. And now, she was part of it. The next morning dawned gray, heavy with the promise of rain. Lena woke to the sound of hushed voices in the hallway, guards speaking into earpieces, footsteps echoing like whispers of danger. Something had changed in the air. The mansion no longer felt safe, it felt watched. When she descended the staircase, Alexander was already in the grand living room, dressed in a black suit, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low but firm, like steel wrapped in silk. I told you, find the leak inside the company. The car accident wasn't random. And now there's a second warning on the gate. Someone inside Knight Enterprises wants me gone. He ended the call and finally looked up. Their eyes met, his stormy, hers uncertain. You shouldn't be down here, he said quietly. Lena crossed her arms. Then stop pretending I don't exist. What's going on? He hesitated, jaw tightening. You wouldn't understand. Her tone sharpened. I gave you my blood, Mr. Knight. I think that earns me a right to know why people keep trying to kill you. For a moment he said nothing. Then an unexpected laugh, bitter and hollow. You really don't fear me, do you? Should I? She shot back. His eyes darkened, amused and pained at once. Everyone does. Maybe that's why you almost died, she whispered. The words hit him like a blade. His mask slipped for just a heartbeat, showing not power, but exhaustion. Later that day, Lena wandered through the East Wing, where portraits of men in suits lined the walls, generations of knights staring down with cold pride. She paused before one painting of a younger Alexander, his expression unguarded, smiling. The contrast was haunting. "Don't stare too long," came his voice from behind her. "He doesn't exist anymore." She turned. "Who took him away?" He gave a wry smile. "The same people who built the empire you're standing in." Lena frowned. "Your family, my board, my so-called allies, my fiancé." Her breath caught. "You're engaged?" "Was." He looked out the tall window, eyes distant. "She left the night before the crash. Said she was tired of living with a man who had no heart. Funny, isn't it? The moment she left, mine stopped beating." Silence. Then he looked at her, gaze burning with intensity. "But then you appeared. Out of nowhere. Like a ghost." Lena's pulse quickened. "I'm no ghost." "Maybe not," he said softly, stepping closer. "But you brought me back from the dead." Her voice trembled. "I just donated blood." He smiled faintly. "Then why does it feel like it's your heartbeat inside my chest now?" The words hung between them, electric and dangerous. Lena's breath hitched as he reached out, brushing his fingers lightly over her wrist. The touch was barely there, yet it sent a shock through her entire body. "You're trembling," he murmured. "I'm not afraid," she said, though her voice betrayed her. "I didn't say you were." His gaze dropped to her lips, lingering for a fraction too long. Then he stepped back, breaking the moment. Fear and desire often look the same. Night fell with thunder. Rain lashed against the mansion's windows, lightning illuminating the corridors. Lena couldn't sleep. Every creak, every shadow made her nerves tighten. She finally rose and padded down the hall, drawn by faint voices coming from Alexander's study. The door was slightly ajar. "No, the reports don't make sense," a man's voice said. "She's a street girl. There's no way her blood type matches yours so precisely. It's almost engineered." Lena froze. Alexander's reply was sharp. "Are you saying it was deliberate? That someone planned the transfusion?" "It's possible. And if that's true, then she might not be who she says she is." A pause. Then Alexander's voice, lower, strained. "She doesn't say she is anyone." Lena's heart pounded. "Engineered? What did that mean?" The floor creaked under her step. Both men turned. "Lena?" Alexander's voice was calm, but his eyes were anything but. "How long have you been standing there?" "Long enough," she said quietly, trembling. "To hear that you think I'm some kind of experiment." He stood, closing the distance between them in 2 strides. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it, Alexander?" Her voice cracked. "You bring me here, you protect me, and now I find out you think my blood isn't even real?" His expression softened, guilt flickering behind the cold mask. "I'm trying to protect you, Lena. You don't understand what's at stake." "I understand one thing," she snapped. "You don't trust me." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and for the first time, his composure broke. He reached for her hand, but she stepped back. "Don't," she whispered. "Just don't." He exhaled shakily. "Lena, I owe you my life. But there's something wrong here, something I can't explain. Whoever wanted me dead knew my blood type. They arranged the crash. And now you, out of everyone in the city, were the only match. You see why I can't ignore that." Her voice was small but cutting. "So you think I was sent to save you?" The silence was deafening. "I don't know," he said finally. "But I'm going to find out." She turned away, heart breaking and quiet, invisible cracks. At the door, she paused, rain still roaring outside. "You said your heart started beating because of me, remember?" He looked up, pain flashing in his eyes. "Maybe it should have stopped," she said and left. Alexander stood frozen long after she was gone. The thunder outside roared like his own thoughts. He looked down at his trembling hands, then at the folder still open on his desk. Inside, a report glared back at him. "DNA anomaly detected. Subject L. Grace, unknown origin. Possible genetic modification." and beneath it, a single line that made his blood run cold. Project Seraph, successful integration confirmed. He gripped the paper until it tore, a whisper escaping his lips. Lena, what did they do to you? Outside, the rain poured harder, as if the heavens themselves were hiding a secret. The night after Lena walked out of the mansion, Alexander Knight couldn't sleep. Her words echoed in his head. Maybe her heart should have stopped. For a man who'd faced death, betrayal, and billion-dollar losses, nothing had ever hurt more. The city outside glittered like broken glass under moonlight. He stood by the window of his penthouse office, staring at the skyline, clutching the torn research file in one trembling hand. Project Seraph. The words were a ghost, whispering of something buried deep in the past, something that shouldn't exist. Then his phone rang. Private line. He answered, voice hoarse. Knight. A cold, unfamiliar tone replied, Mr. Knight, you're playing with something you don't understand. Return the girl, or you'll wish you'd stayed dead. Static. Then silence. Alexander's blood ran cold. Whoever was behind this wasn't bluffing. Scene shift. Rain-soaked alley, dawn. Lena sat under the rusted awning of an abandoned building, clutching her worn backpack. She hadn't cried all night. She refused to. But the ache inside her chest was unbearable. They think I'm some kind of experiment, she thought bitterly. Some lab mistake that just happened to save him. She remembered flashes from her past. White rooms, needles, the hum of machines, and a name whispered by a nurse once. Seraph. She'd thought it was just a dream. Now she wasn't so sure. A black car slowed near the alley. Lena stiffened. A man in a suit stepped out, scanning the darkness. Miss Grace? She backed away. Who are you? He smiled, a practiced, chilling smile. I'm here to take you home. Before she could run, headlights cut through the rain. A sleek black SUV stopped inches from them. The door flew open. Alexander stepped out. Touch her, he said coldly, and you won't see the sunrise. The agent froze. His smirk faltered. You don't know what she is, Knight. She doesn't belong to you. Alexander's jaw tightened. You're right. She doesn't. She belongs to herself. The agent's hand twitched toward his pocket, but before he could reach it, Alexander slammed him against the car. A gun clattered to the ground. The rain mingled with blood. Lena stared in shock. Alexander, stop. He looked at her, eyes wild, soaked and furious. You think I'm going to let them take you? Why? She shouted. Why do you care? You don't even trust me. He froze. For a moment, the rain was the only sound. Then, softly, because I trust my heart. And it beats because of you. Something in her broke. Later, inside the SUV, city outskirts. They sat in silence as the car cut through the storm. The tension between them was electric, fragile. Lena finally spoke. You shouldn't have come for me. Alexander's voice was rough. And you shouldn't have walked out. She looked away, tears threatening. You were reading files about me. Files that said I'm something unnatural. He hesitated. I was trying to protect you. The crash wasn't an accident, Lena. Someone wanted me dead, and somehow, you're connected to them. She turned to him, pain flashing in her eyes. Then maybe you should have left me to die on the street. He slammed his fist against the dashboard. Don't say that. The car swerved slightly. Silence fell again, heavier now. Lena, he said at last, voice breaking. I don't know what you are or who did this to you. But when I flatlined, it wasn't a machine or a miracle that brought me back. It was you. I felt it. Her lips trembled. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. He turned to her, eyes burning. When your blood entered mine, I saw something, memories that weren't mine, pain that wasn't mine. You've suffered more than I ever have. Her breath hitched. You saw it. He nodded slowly. Flashes. A laboratory. Chains. A little girl crying for her mother. Lena's face drained of color. How could you? I don't know, he whispered. But it means one thing. Whatever they did to you, they connected us. She couldn't speak. Her heart felt like it was being torn open. Scene shift, abandoned biotech facility, midnight. Hours later, they stood before the ruins of an old government lab, guided by the coordinates in the report. The sign was faded, but still legible. Seraph Research Division. Lena trembled as she stepped inside. The halls were dark, sterile, haunted. In one of the rooms, Alexander found a shattered computer terminal. He brushed off the dust and found a faded label. Subject L01 viable. Lena's knees gave way. L01, that's me. He caught her before she fell. What does it mean? She shook her head, voice trembling. I was part of a project. They said they were helping orphans, but they were using us. My blood, it was different. They said it could heal. They called me a failure when I escaped. Alexander's grip tightened around her shoulders. You didn't fail. You survived. Before she could respond, a faint noise echoed down the corridor. Footsteps. He turned sharply. We're not alone. From the shadows, the same man from the alley appeared, flanked by guards. I warned you, Knight. You should have let her go. Lena stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear. What do you want from me? The man smirked. Your blood built the serum that saved him. Now we need more. For the world's most powerful clients. Alexander moved in front of her instantly. Over my dead body. That can be arranged, the man said coldly, raising his gun. The shot echoed through the lab. But it wasn't Alexander who fell. Lena stumbled, clutching her side. Blood seeped through her fingers. Lena, he shouted, catching her before she hit the ground. Stay with me. Don't you dare. Her eyes fluttered, pain and peace mixing. Guess my blood saved you twice now. Don't talk like that. His voice cracked. I'm not losing you, not again. Sirens wailed in the distance. The guards fled, leaving chaos behind. Alexander pressed his hand to her wound, his own tears mixing with rain and blood. Lena, look at me. You brought me back. Now it's my turn. Her lips parted in a faint smile. You can't fix what's not human. He cupped her face. You're more human than anyone I've ever known. Her eyes closed as he whispered her name again and again, until the sirens drowned everything. The rain fell again that night. It was as if the sky itself remembered the night he almost died. Damien stood by the massive glass window of his penthouse, city lights flickering below like distant embers. The storm outside reflected the chaos inside him. His hands were clenched, his breath uneven. For days, flashes of her face, those tear-filled eyes, trembling lips whispering, "Please don't die," haunted him. He'd tried to forget. But every heartbeat felt like a stolen rhythm that wasn't entirely his. His assistant, Leo, entered quietly. Sir, the blood donor, the one who saved you, she's gone. Damien's head snapped up. Gone? What do you mean gone? Leo hesitated. She left the hospital before she recovered. The nurses said she looked weak. They couldn't stop her. Silence. The kind that stretched like a blade. For weeks, Damien had dismissed the odd, burning sensations in his chest, the restlessness, the sleepless nights. But now, it all made sense. Somewhere out there, the girl who had saved him was fading. He turned sharply. Find her. I don't care what it takes. I owe her my life. Meanwhile, across the city, Mira sat in an abandoned bus shelter, arms wrapped around her thin frame. The rain soaked through her worn hoodie, but she barely felt it. Her vision blurred again. Her body had grown weaker ever since the transfusion. Every night, she dreamt of the man she saved, the cold, dying CEO whose heartbeat had once synced with hers through the foreline. She told herself it was just adrenaline, compassion, nothing more. But the truth was, the connection had never left her. Why can't I forget you? She whispered into the rain. Her phone buzzed weakly, a message from the hospital she'd been avoiding. Your blood results came in. Please come back immediately. She stared at it, then deleted the message. What good was saving someone if she couldn't save herself? Back at the CEO's mansion, Damien's search team had narrowed down leads. Leo rushed into the office, drenched but breathless. Sir, we found her. A homeless shelter downtown. She was seen there 2 nights ago. Damien didn't wait. Get the car. The car sliced through the storm. Damien's heart pounded harder with every passing street. When they arrived, the shelter director hesitated. She doesn't talk much, the woman said softly. But she has kind eyes. Like she's seen the worst and still forgives the world. Damien froze at the door. Inside, Mira sat by a cracked window, trying to warm her hands over a small heater. Her eyes lifted and collided with his. For a heartbeat, time itself fractured. She rose, stunned. You're the man you saved, he finished quietly. They stood inches apart. Rain drummed the roof like a heartbeat. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. You're alive. That's enough. It's not enough. His voice trembled despite its firmness. You gave me your blood, your strength. Now you're the one fading. Why didn't you come back for treatment? Her lips curved faintly. Because people like me don't get saved twice. That broke him. He stepped closer, his hand trembling as it reached for her cheek. You changed everything. I wake up every morning feeling like part of me still belongs to you. You didn't just give me blood, Mira. You gave me your heartbeat. She looked away, tears shimmering. Don't say things like that. You're CEO. I'm the reason I'm breathing. He drew her into his arms before she could protest. She felt his warmth, steady, alive, and her body finally let go of the tension she'd been holding for weeks. Her tears fell soundlessly against his chest. Come with me, he whispered. Let me help you. Let me return what you gave me. She shook her head weakly. You can't fix me. Then let me try, he said, eyes burning. Because without you, I'll just die again. Hours later, she lay in a hospital bed again, the beeping monitors soft and rhythmic. Damien sat by her side, his hand covering hers. The doctor entered, face solemn. Her condition is fragile. It seems your blood types created a rare reaction. The bond between you two, it's not just emotional. It's biological. Her system is rejecting separation from your blood. Damien's jaw clenched. Then take mine again. As much as she needs. The doctor's eyes widened. That could endanger your own health. I don't care. His voice cut like thunder. She saved my life. I'll save hers. Mira stirred weakly, catching the last of his words. Damien, no. He leaned closer, voice breaking. You gave me a second chance at life. Don't you dare take it away now. Outside, the rain finally stopped. The city exhaled, and dawn broke over the horizon, soft, golden, forgiving. As the sunlight fell across Myra's pale face, her eyelids fluttered. She whispered faintly, You're a fool, Damien. He smiled through tears. Then I'll be your fool forever. And for the first time since that fateful night, their heartbeats aligned again.